Okay, it's 9:11 p.m. Eastern Time on January 25th, 2018, and I have Katie Hosso on the line, and she's going to go over, just because the mic has been having problems with you on Zoom, so we're all going to do Zoom in a few minutes, but we're going to do this first. So why don't you start giving me an overview of the Fed Reserve witness, and then as you're doing that, I'm going to look at your notes that are in front of me at the same time, and so if there's any other questions I can get you to expand on more, that'd be great.
Okay, so let me go to my notes and look at it. So, okay, so when they brought the witness on, his name was Sean O'Malley, and when he first started describing like his background, all I heard was like that he was a chief with the Federal Reserve, 19 years, investigates money laundering, and then he went in to describe what the Federal Reserve was, and he was talking about it being central. Yeah, he said it was being like a central bank of the USA, many functions, more in Washington. It controls like the monetary implements. And for example, like interest rates, he made that an example of what the Federal Reserve does. Provides service for the USA, helps execute transitions on behalf of financial institutions. And so he's going into like the background of it. And when Cynthia Davidson was questioned on this part, he was describing it so quickly, and like I described it as like stumbling. But he was kind of like just going through and talking so fast. And also, I noticed a lot before because the way that the court is set up, it's a very small entranceway. There's two elevators, and you barely have any part of a hallway to go walk into the courtroom. And then they have two rooms on the sides where they typically have the witnesses or whoever it is, like the counsel, if they need to use those rooms to kind of sit, prepare. Well, before I knew who this person was, this witness was, I noticed that they were sitting on the chair, and they were like literally just like reading over notes, like just going through and just reading. And I figured it was probably a witness, right? I mean, I didn't know what they were going to be for, but I just found that really interesting. Okay, so literally reading the script before they go up there. I just want to kind of throw that out there. So he's going in. He's talking really fast on all of this. It's actually extremely hard to follow, but I had a feeling that when Heather got up there that she would, kind of help clear it out. So I just wrote down what I could get from him.
Right.
And I made this note in particular that it literally sounded like he was giving a prepared speech. Yeah. The way that he was, which of course most of the trial has sounded like that from the witnesses, but yeah, so it sounded like he was giving a very prepared speech. And then he was talking about, how the Federal Reserve was created by Congress in 1913. They have a board of governors that is a part of the government. And this is what stuck out to me, and I'm glad Heather ended up addressing it later when she cross-examined him. He said that no individuals have accounts, only central banks. And they use it as like depository institutions. But he did not. He said no individuals have accounts, but he didn't say anything about the Social Security number. Right. And I have more notes on that because Heather asked him specifically about that. So he says, okay, central banks can apply. Oh yeah, and the central banks the other banks can apply to have an account with the Federal Reserve. He talks about how it doesn't hold secret accounts for individuals.
Wait, stop. Okay, so stop. So,
yep.
Just go back to that point for a minute. Does not hold secret accounts for individuals.
Yep.
He specified does not hold secret accounts for individuals.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so they could hold secret accounts for other people because they specified for individuals.
Yes, and
that's a lawyer trick, okay?
Yep.
And Randy did not access his account that was an individual account. He accessed his account that was okay. All right, I just wanted to highlight that. All right, cool. Yep. Keep going.
Yeah, and Heather will touch on this a little bit when she starts the cross-examination, because I did pick up on that a lot. And so talks about how the Federal Reserve is located mostly in Washington, D.C., and that it doesn't have accounts. Only the 12 reserve banks have the accounts.
Right.
Talks about the routing numbers for the Federal Reserve are public. They don't regulate ACH. They do provide the ACH service.
Yep.
And then in quotations I put, because he said trying to keep it easy to understand when he went to describe the ACH system. He's like, I'm trying to keep it easy, to understand, which to me implied that not only the jury but all of us are idiots, and that we are not going to be able to understand it because it's just so incredibly complicated.
No, actually, what that's a code for is I'm giving you the prepared parts that I've been well coached on, both from the people that hold my strings and prosecution team. And if I lay it out to you this way, that's what you think top of mind is what it is, not what it actually is if you've done some research. So
yeah, okay, yeah. So I made it a point to put that in quotations because I found that interesting. And then he starts describing the ACH. It's a electronic payment, gives more rights to the consumer, that the bank money is being withdrawn. The bank so he described it from Bank A and Bank B, but I wrote it differently. That basically the bank that is withdrawing the money from has 2 days to validate the funds and notify the bank requesting the funds if they're insufficient or if it's not appropriate.
Yes, well, he's not up to his own regulations because they passed the regulations that. Okay. No, just okay.
So
sorry.
You're good. No, you're good. I made note of that because I knew I knew a bunch of people that had sent me emails saying, hey, I got this email from my bank saying that now the Federal Reserve is going to do ACHs in 1 day. Same day. Yeah, and so I was like, dude, there's already a discrepancy, and and that's just emails that I've seen from my bank. They literally had to notify us. I was like, I already see a discrepancy in that. So if anybody has a bank account like that, received that notification, actually pays attention to it, is going to know that's incorrect.
Right.
So he talks about that, and I'm pretty sure I make a note about that later too. And then he says Federal Reserve first checks to see if it's a valid routing number. And then again, I put, he was stumbling trying to explain an invalid transaction. And then this is when they added an exhibit. And every time they added an exhibit, I tried to write down the number.
Okay.
And it kind of explained what it was a little bit. And so Heather and Randy had not seen this evidence yet, and so when they they added it in, but they didn't object to it, and it basically just showed it was just like a Fed wire, the wire transfer that was done from the money with the RV, and at this point, he was talking so fast that I could not follow him, and I looked over at the jury, and there was one in particular who was taking very detailed notes the entire time, very engaged, taking very detailed notes. And at this point in time, I saw this particular person kind of stretch your neck and lean back and so you could tell that they were unengaged at this point because this guy is just, he's just flying through this information.
So would you say that I'm sure Heather she still talks pretty fast in the courtroom, but she's slow for Heather's speed. So was this guy faster than Heather?
Yes, because
Heather. That's fast.
No.
I met Heather when she's talking on the phone with me. You get the two of us together and forget it. People are like, "What? Could you slow that down?"
That's so funny because I'm the same way. I really am. But this guy was almost like information vomit. He was just spitting out so much information and so many different intricate words. And I'm just like, this is not. Yeah, he was just it was all over the place. And so I kind of highlighted something here that he did not, and this is what I kind of alluded to earlier. He did not specify that citizens do not have accounts linked to Social Security numbers, only that individuals do not have accounts.
Right.
Yeah, so that...
Well, that would be a pretty, important distinction.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. That's why that's why I definitely wanted to highlight that, because it's literally what this case is about. So the fact that they're not addressing that was interesting. And then they entered in Exhibit 162, and it was basically a screenshot of the Federal Reserve website. And it's funny because I actually remember seeing this when it was published, and it was after.
It was late July.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they published this, and of course it basically just states that individuals do not have accounts, and that trying to pay your bills with these owning numbers and everything is a scam. And so I actually added the question there saying, I'm wondering when was this published, because they did not specify when it was when it was put on the site. At least the prosecution didn't ask him when that showed up on the Federal Reserve site.
Right.
So that was kind of the end of the prosecution questions, and then Heather jumped in and starts the cross-examination.
So hang on, let me stop you for 1 second. So was Cynthia doing a lot of questions, or did she start with 1 or 2 questions to get him into his whole prepared speech and just let him roll?
Combination of it, yeah. So she did start with a couple of questions, just asking basic information on the FedWire, or basic information on the Federal Reserve, and then she was asking too, well, is it a private corporation or is it publicly owned? And that's when he went in and was specifying, oh no, it's not, it's partially. He's like, well, it's both. It's partially government, it's partially this, and so she was feeding the questions into it. I was mostly writing down his responses. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they had a product they were selling, and
yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. She knew exactly. Oh, yeah, you could tell she knew exactly where she wanted to go and how she wanted to come out. Because, and specifically when she started, and I knew she wanted to, because everybody knows that it's a privately owned corporation, right? I feel like that's a pretty common knowledge with people that I've, that
yeah,
I've
you don't even have to have a tinfoil hat on for that one.
Yeah, most people know that. And so I knew that when she asked that, she had to have had a direction she wanted to go, because she wouldn't take information that was so blatantly obvious and have it not be in her favor,
Yeah.
So
let me just ask you one question while it's top of mind, because Sheila's notes just came in, and he actually said that he knew real time about the Randall Bean case. Do you remember that?
Oh, man, yeah, he was all over the place with that. He was back and forth, and that goes into when Heather starts cross-examining him.
Okay, all right, great. All right.
Yeah, so when Heather gets up there, because like I said in the beginning when Cindy Davidson was questioning him, he was talking very fast. His information was kind of all over the place, and it's funny because Heather stated that she didn't get his full title, and I didn't really either. And all I got was that he was a senior or some chief of something. And so she starts off by trying to clarify his credentials and everything, and he states that he's a senior VP chief investigator within the legal department or legal enforcement group, and and finally says his actual title is senior VP financial intelligence and investigations. And
Senior VP Fraud Investigations, Financial Intel, and Law Enforcement Liaison.
Yeah, some ridiculous title. It was no wonder why nobody got that. So he says that he's senior VP, and then he I don't know how Heather framed the question, but he basically ended up saying that his senior VP is the rank of the bank, but there are many others that have senior VP title.
Yeah.
So and so he starts talking. He works at the Federal Reserve in New York. He had an accounting background. He was a CPA, 7.5 years for Medicaid fraud. He investigated Medicaid fraud for 7.5 years.
From the Federal Reserve Bank?
No. This is prior. I believe was prior. Yeah, because he had. Yeah, I know.
Well, I was going to say,
that'd be interesting.
I thought individuals didn't have accounts at the Federal Reserve.
Right. No. Yeah, this is his background and experience. Okay. So yes, he had an accounting background, CPA, and that's what he did. And then let's see. Yeah, and then he was talking about. He was talking about rejecting. so I remember him talking about, I don't know what she asked him specifically, but he was saying that that when these transactions were going through with the Fed routing number and the Social Security numbers, that they were rejecting thousands of dollars because of this. And he was talking about like Brad Carpenter, and this is where things got really confusing, and she had to keep going back and forth and trying to clarify who he got information from first. And so first he brought up this Brad Carpenter, that he was that he worked for the FBI, and that he might be detailed to New York, and then went into talking about another agent that he got information from.
Well, this is, again, it speaks to, they have all of these high levels supposedly with alphabets before and after their name. Senior Vice President, Fraud Investigations, Financial Intel, and Law Enforcement Liaison. Okay, so
Yep.
So that's not as actually high as it sounds. A liaison is a mouthpiece. And
right.
But I was going to say, with the rest of that title, he should have a sheet of paper that knows that it was X agent who'd been with the FBI since X time, and he's housed out of X thing. I mean, that's just basic, simple, rudimentary stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's talking about how the Federal Reserve, what's he saying? He asked,
what's this note here about the last name of coworker?
Oh, because that was he talked about somebody who Amenta was someone's last name, and I couldn't catch who this person was to him. I didn't know if it was somebody he worked with, and it sounded like it was like, I don't know if it was like a partner or a coworker, or if it was somebody that worked with him on something.
Did he bring it up, or in response to a question that Heather asked him?
Yeah, because she was asking him, because I know in this section here, she was asking him how how he first found out about the transactions as well as the case in general. And that's why it was kind of confusing. It took her a while to get him to actually get a clear record of what happened. And so,
did she ask him, how he knew that there were thousands of dollars worth of payments being rejected?
She did, because she said she made it a point to say that she knew that just from her record that there were, and what she could see, that there was at least 300,000, and I'm not sure, I think she said transactions. She was like,
yeah, because we've got records of most of them.
Exactly. And so that's why she was like, so if I have that, if I have that, which she was like, clearly you have access to know all of it. So I'm sure there's got to be some that I'm missing. So you've got to have more than that. And he was like, oh, well, it could be, tens of thousands, or it could be hundreds of thousands, but regardless, so that did come up. I think closer to the wrap up. Yeah, I know. I thought that was pretty interesting too. And so you start talking about how Brad Carpenter, that he spoke to him, and Brad Carpenter confirmed that there was an open investigation, and the open investigation was in general and with USAA. So he says that Brad first let him know both topics, that when it comes to those cases, and that he was aware that that there was linkage to YouTube or something. That's the basic information that he was given initially.
Okay.
So he finally stated that he always knew about the case with Randall, but he was very general. He didn't have a lot of information about it. All he knew was that it was linked to YouTube. And so Brad, who was a part of the cyber group or cyber threat, not sure. Let's see what I put here. Not sure if it was official task force. And then he said that because he said he wasn't sure if Brad was a part of the official task force, that he thought Brad went back and forth between the headquarters in D.C. and New York. So I found that interesting. I'm like, you think he's this, you think he's that, this guy calls you work with him. Like if you ask me, hey, did you talk to so-and-so, I'm going to know, oh, yeah, this is whoever they were for finance. Like, if I talk with somebody, I'm going to know where they work in the department.
Well,
and, like,
especially if they're purporting to
function.
be an FBI agent, you want to know, because
exactly
they're the FBI, so they're going to hold you, regardless of whether you work for the FedRes or not. They're going to hold you to your statements.
Right, and if he's a liaison, like, isn't that technically part of his job to know that? So so that was concerning to me as well. So then he goes into, and then he referred to the ACH issue in general to a Mitchell Thompson. Let's see. And he said that he didn't fully know a lot, like, the information on the trial until he was subpoenaed to testify.
Who's he? Who's the he
Sean.
in that?
Sean. Okay. Sean O'Malley, the witness. Yeah, so he didn't have all the details or really know a lot about it until he got subpoenaed. And that's when he started digging in. He quoted, like, the nitty-gritty of, like, the gritty details.
But didn't he just, I could be mistaken, didn't he just contradict himself, because he said he was specially assigned to this case? Isn't that what he said at the beginning?
Kind of, yes, but that's the funny part. So first he was going back,
That's hilarious. I mean, I'm how many thousands of miles away and I'm catching this?
No, so that's the thing, though. So that's why it took Heather, like, a good minute to clarify what he was saying. So now he ended up saying, like, that he knew of, like, the general issue with the whole Social Security and the Fed routing numbers, but that and the USAA, again, with Randall, but didn't fully know look into the details of Randy's case until he was contacted by Mitchell Thompson. And so Mitchell Thompson is who gave him, I guess, further details into it.
And who's Mitchell Thompson?
No, I'm sorry. He said not Mitchell Thompson. He didn't know until he got subpoenaed. And then once he was subpoenaed.
Okay, so in other words, they chose him as the front man to be on the case, one, because he's a liaison, two, because he has a long, very official sounding title, and he'd probably be a good fodder to throw up on the. Okay, great. Okay, so that's what Heather's ascertaining. He had nothing to. Nobody knew anything about this.
He had nothing to do with.
Be so big. Okay, fine.
He had and that's another thing. And, like, because literally that's how this whole trial has been. Okay, the main people who, from what I take, who've actually been involved in the investigation are A, no longer working for those corporations, or B, just were not at the trial. And I'm like,
funny that, isn't it? It's pretty funny.
I mean, how convenient. I'm like, and I know, and they said today that at least one or two other officials that had stepped down, and I remember, and I probably mouthed it out, saying, like, how convenient, like, like I was just like how convenient they happen to step down right before the trial.
Or they were offered a deal to go away and shut up.
Exactly. Yeah.
In reference to EO 13818.
Yep.
Or they're on home leave.
Yeah. Or they happen to take a different position and are now doing something else, and no longer are involved in it.
But the law of occupational changes in the workforce for all of them in one particular connected this is too high a percentage.
Yeah, I love that about this case. It's been very exciting. So he talks about the subpoena, and then he didn't know the details until he got subpoenaed. And then so Mitchell Thompson, he then clarified, was a supervisor for the FBI. And then he goes into confirming that yes, Brad Carpenter made him first aware of the case with Randy, and said it was being handled in Tennessee. Did not want to get involved. So Brad Carpenter basically told him that Brad did not want to get involved in the case, that it'd be handled in Tennessee. And so, and that's the special agent that was related to cyber investigations. And so at this point,
it was so uninteresting a case that the special investigator for cyber fraud from the FBI didn't want to bother to get involved with the case.
He didn't want to get involved.
And they were, the good old boys down in Tennessee were going to handle it.
Yep, Tennessee was going to handle it. Brad didn't want to get involved. That's what Sean said. Yep.
And his Brad's title again? Do we remember what that is?
Brad is he was the special agent for the cyber investigations.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
and
great.
I think because I played Brad Carpenter. Yeah, he was FBI. Yeah. So
he's not just any agent or any special agent. He just happens to be the special agent with fraud and cyber, where all of this alleged crimes took place. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. But he can't be bothered. That's good.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
And
what is 162? What's that?
Exhibit 162. That's when that came out.
Okay.
and that's when I put, because that was when I talked to you about how it was basically the screenshot of the Federal Reserve page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mentioned it back there, but then they brought it up again, or that's when Heather brought it up again and asked him when it was published. I was like, yes, because I was like, this is important. Ask him, because that was
right.
That's why I was taking notes to see when it came out. And so she did. She asked him when it came out, and he said, oh, I'm not, not sure. He said, not sure, summer 2017. Okay, but I mean, yeah.
Well, I can tell him it's right on the IUV.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Oh, I love that. So, okay, yeah, and so then he starts talking about.
Okay, now, did he say? I'm looking at your note here. Does he said that the Fed Reserve was able to draw funds back in within 2 days? They can't do that. Yes. It says right in their own documentation of what the Federal Reserve is and does, and it also is followed up in the ACH things. They don't do that. It says right on their website, the Federal Reserve website.
Interesting, because that's how he made it sound. That's how I took it.
Okay, well, so that's probably what he said.
The way
he didn't read his own documentation on his own website.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm really not.
I mean, it clearly says it because people ask those questions, and I went and looked it up, and it says right on there. Or other people would look it up and send a comment in. It says right on there. It says you can't. They don't take. I mean, even the people who think that Heather's out to lunch and we're all a bunch of tinfoil, numbnuts, will say, well, the Federal Reserve can't take payments back. It doesn't work that way. I mean, even the ones who, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's how I took it. I took it that they have 2 days to withdraw the funds if it's not, if the transaction is not a valid. He said if it's not a valid transaction. Those are the key words that he said. And then, then he stated the Federal Reserve was a federal instrument with 12 regional banks, and Heather made it a point to say, no, there's actually 13. And she gave more detail on that. Yeah, she was like, actually, no, there's 13. And I forget what she said. She said something specific on the 13th one, and he just kind of looked at her. But I thought that was funny. So he didn't. I don't remember him denying that or saying no, that's not correct.
Right. No, because he's probably doing a Scooby-Doo look going, she knows more about the Federal Reserve than I do.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. It's I have so much compassion for these people because it's it really frustrates me that they are sending the people there who are not, who literally don't know what's going on with this stuff. They're literally sending people there just to speak and to give them what they want to say. And so you can't help but not have that compassion and love for them because it's it's not even this isn't even you it's
right.
not even
right.
You're not even the one behind this, and it sucks that you're sitting here being grilled when this isn't you. This is really has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So,
well, the beauty of it is that that's source original coming out in everybody, and
right.
the light bulbs are popping all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's
true.
for those who haven't wanted to pay attention to what they were actually doing in their job or in life, it's a hard moment. And compassion is really helpful, but nonetheless, they got to pony up and go with the flow.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Like we all do. I did. I've been ponying up for years.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Okay, cool. Well, what I'm going to do is end this here.
Okay.
And then I will give you guys 5 minutes, if that's good, and
Okay.
then I'll set up the Zoom, and I'll pony these two. I'll connect these two things together. So I'll make this go on the front of the Zoom that we're going to do, and I'll put them all together as one video.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right.
See you guys in a minute.
All right. Bye.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey. So I'm with the Tennessee crew here. It's Monday. I got my Rudolph white nose on today. It's Monday. No. What day?
No, it's not.
Thursday, January 25th, 2018.
Oh, man. Oh, look, you're
And
lucky.
the first thing we're going to do is, because I want to continue that conversation we were just having, so tell me, can you see that picture on your screen now?
Yes, we can see my mug on the screen, Daisy.
Yeah,
Can't read the
but
writing,
I want everybody- for those who haven't seen this, this is very important. This is from it's called Backroom Knox. It's a Facebook page. It's actually a whole portal on Facebook that does hard news. They do a lot of local stuff, local creative stories, and you know, kind of public square, people around town, what's happening, stories. But they do a lot of hardcore news. They do a lot of digging. This gentleman, Christian Alexander, does a lot of digging into things. So it's actually a fascinating portal there that they've got. Anyways, you guys are going to tell us a story about how you ran into him and met him, but I just want to read the quote from him. Sovereign citizen is an oxymoron, according to one of the attendees of the trial currently underway in Knox County, Tennessee. 31 million is up for grabs, but where is it? Christian Alexander from Facebook.com, Backroom Knox. Okay, so guys, now tell us about Christian Alexander and how you met him.
Well, we were coming out of the courtroom for lunch, and
Today.
he actually
Today.
Yes, today. Yes, today. And he was in the elevator with us. And of course, you know, we laugh and joke and carry on as we always do. And he noticed that we were all together, and he asked us, you know, if we were, you know, I don't know, did he ask us?
He was like, are you with?
Yeah, he asked us if we were sovereign citizens.
Did he ask if we were with Heather?
Yeah, if we were with the sovereign citizens or whatever. And I'm sorry, but that just triggered something in me. And I turned around, he was behind me, and I said, sovereign citizen is an oxymoron.
That is not what this is.
Yeah, that's true.
His reaction, he had a very genuine reaction. He was like, oh, he's like,
let it pick up your voice.
Oh, me?
Remember the test? Yeah, the test.
Oh, yes. Hello. Hi. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me now, because apparently Zoom doesn't like my voice.
You're perfect.
So his reaction was very genuine, and he was like, no, like, if that's not what it is, like, then what is it? And he really just wanted to know what was going on. And so, Sheila was a little worked up, and I was like,
well, because it turns out that he had read the USA Today hit piece, and I'm calling it a hit piece, but I want you to know that he says he knows the person that wrote that piece.
Well, he follows her work, and so and he says that
but
she
he
does.
got him there.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
True.
Well, so yeah, it was a source hit piece. Source laid it out there, and he got there. So
yes, exactly.
I point that out because that's how everybody connects these dots, right?
Yes.
If you read the Bible, you might say the Lord works in mysterious ways. Okay, well, yeah, but in this case, we're down in Dirty Little, and it's a source hit piece, and there you go. He hit you with Christian Alexander. So there you go. Okay, keep going about Christian.
Yeah.
Well, so we were talking to him, and I explained to him, I was like, sovereign citizen, it is an oxymoron. I was like, you can't be sovereign, which is like, for yourself against everything and then a citizen at the same time. Like you can't be sovereign against the government and yet be a citizen like that.
Well, sovereign actually pertains to having subjects too. I mean, you know, that's why I said this is not
weird. Yeah. I mean, that's not what this is at all. And so I told him, I was like, this is just investigating the operations within the government and how everything's done, you know, when it regards to banking, regards to all of that, and to just uncover the truth behind it. And he was like, okay. And then Sheila was like, you know what, come join us for lunch. I don't know who, but somebody invited him. And they're like, hey, just join us for lunch. He was like, really? He's like, I can come with you. And we're like, yeah, duh, hello, of course. Like, coming out with us. You know, and we're like, the more the merrier. And so we ended up sitting at a table with him, and you know, Sheila was doing a lot.
And this one has informed him of everything.
Oh, I would.
I personally just said, look, you need to go to the I-UV and watch every video that you can find there and read up on it. And then, you know, I made up a bunch of cards with my YouTube channel on it. And I said, and go here and take a look at those too, and make up your own mind. And that's pretty much what I said. But, but this
I contacted him on his Facebook, you know, on the Facebook portal, and just said, hi, you met Sheila and everybody today, and just went reaching out if you have any questions or, you know, want me to point you in the direction where most of the discovery that the prosecution has came from the IEV. So I'd be happy to show you, you know, what it is they're looking at.
Oh, that's great. That is
awesome,
great.
because that's what we kept telling them. We're like, a lot of documents are on there that they are not allowing to be admitted into evidence. You know, I was like, so it's interesting just to go in and to review what's there, just so that you have like a full background and everything. And so, yeah, we had a really great conversation. I mean, I was scarfing my lunch down at the end because I'd barely eaten the entire time. Yeah. And then when I went back into the courthouse, I set off the metal detector, which I hadn't this morning. So I found that really interesting.
Well, quite frankly, okay, so I have an observation about what happened. This is an energetic observation. Something activated this one because she has had a crap ton of energy.
More than normal. And people who know me know that's a lot to say about me.
Since that interaction.
Yeah.
And like she said, she had nothing different on her body than when she entered the courthouse this morning than when she came back in the afternoon, and she set the metal detectors off.
Every time I walked through, it was going off like crazy.
So
my guess is there are biometric sensors in those detectors and not just looking for metal, and frequency electromagnetics as well.
I would not doubt it.
You know, that's the information that's coming in right this minute.
Nice.
Well, I actually would not doubt it, because she has bobby pins in her hair, but she had all of those bobby pins, those same bobby pins in her head in the morning, and it did not set off.
Right, but if they have those sensors and you have that, and you had an expansion activation, like the guy said to you this morning, oh, well, we know who you are.
He was like, and he said to me, I'm getting to know who you are. He's like, I'll probably know you soon.
Right.
Well, they don't ask for any of our IDs anymore.
Well, he did for me, but then he's like, I'm getting to know you.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because you've been there. Come on. Okay, wait a minute. She's very tall and she's gorgeous, and she's been there with all the rest of us all this time. And
yeah,
for the
but
last...
you see, that's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. So
yeah. That's
your tip off. So good, you know.
Yeah, really, it is. Well, there's several energetic.
Hey, now, you know, I'm setting off the buzzers, so it's cool. Okay, so this video, just so to set up in your guys' minds again and for everybody else, is the tail on. They've already watched the phone conversation that Katie and I just had. So, and that was on Katie's notes and what was there. So let's, actually what I want to read this one part, because this is very good information based on what they've just heard. And this is from the press a pay, and I'm going to read 3 sections again because it's really important, and it's going to tie into what the testimony that Katie just recounted to us. And Katie's notes, Katie said to me, you know, they're messy, hope you can read them. Well, Katie's the one who screwed the curve for the rest of us.
Wait, say that again?
Say that again?
Katie's the one who screwed the curve for the rest of us in school because her handwriting, even messy, was...
I know. I saw her handwriting. If that's messy, then why do you think I didn't send you copies of mine?
Right. Okay. So, all right. So it starts on page 4, and it's H. On or about July 3rd, 2017, I arrived in Houston, Texas. After my arrival, I received notice of the details of a strategic operation by foreign actors to steal money from the U.S. Treasury Direct Depository accounts, commonly referred to now as the TDAs, using the people in America. So I want that to sink in for a minute. Hold that, those who are watching this, in your brain. And it's, you know, you could go read this. It's on the IEV, and I actually know from comments that most people have not read this at all. There's no legalese in here. It's pretty plain English. Well, strategic What?
I just wanted to say that I have not had the opportunity. I want to do a recording of me reading that, just straight out like I've done other things. But, of course, we've been so busy here that I haven't had the opportunity. And I would do it this evening, but, you know, I get overrode because they want to go to bed. So I might, you know what, I might actually, depending on how late it is, I might go down the hall and do it. So go ahead.
The strategic operation was to be run with a sovereign template. Okay, that's another key for you all. They have a template. They have scenarios, and they have risk management strategies and all that kind of stuff of how they can paint things and people.
Right.
But you don't live in a free country in the United States.
I know, me too.
Template to remove anyone that may risk the operation getting out of the foreign agent's control. A template to remove anyone that may risk operating getting out of the foreign agent's control. Are you paying attention? Like the Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street did. Now, for those of you who don't know, yes, Occupy Wall Street was this great grassroots movement, and it inspired a lot of people, and they got off of their chairs, and they came out in the streets, and they had these gatherings, and they had a non-localized way of communicating with people and all this kind of stuff. That was a CIA op.
Yes.
Just so you know.
No, I knew it was.
Totally did not work the way they had planned and got away from them. And that's what this is alluding to here. I mean, there are some people who absolutely know that I'm talking boring news, and there's some people whose jaws are being picked up off the floor. The basic operation... Wait a
minute. Now your audio is slipping. Yeah, that's right. Get that. There you go. Get that thing up there. Get a little closer to that big ass mic.
Okay. The basic operation was for an average citizen. So in their mind, stupid, to receive enough information of how to access their Treasury Direct Depository accounts, make payments from said account to various members, wait for it, immunized by Obama's National Cybersecurity Act, in parentheses, corporations, banks, etc. Why do you think, you didn't hear it from Heather and people around, you know, the IV and such, but why do you think everybody was saying, yeah, pay off all your debts? Because who do you pay off all your debts to?
Oh my God.
Read this paperwork here. Immunized by Obama's National Cybersecurity Act, corporations, banks, and etc. I love you all dearly, but it is so way, way, way past time to wake up.
No, I gotcha.
Okay. And other various acts. The receiving entities would then be ordered. Okay, so this is like happened in court today, purportedly. The receiving entities would then be ordered by the Federal Reserve to return the funds. The receiving entities would be able to make write-offs, insurance claims, etc. It's a win-win. The system, so let's posit this, let's pretend this game. This crazy chick claims that she, was a band of these 4 married trustees. I'm sorry, well, 4 including Charlie Miller. So 3 trustees towards the end of this wacky thing called the One People's Public Trust 1776. And they filed all these documents with this weird thing called the UCC because she doesn't even know that has nothing. That's not a real law and has nothing to do with anything. Okay, fine. They filed this. They foreclosed on things. The money ran out of the pipeline. They withdrew all the access to the way that they had been getting these funds in the past, and it was all returned to each individual being. Read those documents. Fascinating stuff. Okay? So the only way to get those funds available and accessible, are you paying attention now? Was to have this operation. It was an op. And no, as I've seen one comment, Heather did not run this op. The ones who were always stealing your money and all of your value were running the op. And they just wanted a few average citizens, what they thought were the stupid ones, okay, to run this. And they wanted to direct you to do it. Yeah, be debt free. Oh my God, be debt free, be debt free. So what are you doing when you're being debt free? You're paying off all of the entities that had already just right in time been given immunity from the then 44th president of the United States. Handy. Okay. So the receiving entities would then be ordered by the Federal Reserve to return the funds. The receiving entities would be able to make write-offs, insurance claims, etc. As I said, it's a win-win situation. Nobody could access the money, even though they've been playing with your value and your money all this time. Mm-hmm. So they have this op. They get a bunch of average citizens, to use their claim, to free up the money, to pay their debts. So the money has now been loosed from those accounts that they have not been able to touch since all the UCC filings went into effect. The money comes out. It passes through, can you say the word money laundering? It passes through these institutions who then pass it off, and we'll get to that in a minute because it isn't really back. They pass it off, and they get their kickback in the form of write-offs, insurance claims, etc. Okay, still with me? While the Federal Reserve, with the aid of the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, who the alleged Judge Shirley never heard of the Bank for International Settlements.
Didn't know what it was. Heather had to describe it to him.
Yes, a man of his stature and esteem and at the level of his entity, his accomplishments in life. Okay, well, that's very interesting. So then, with the aid of the Bank of International Settlements, would divert the seemingly returned funds to designated global locations in support of the foreign threat against POTUS and other terrorist activities, since all of their systems are legally private, except in one instance, and that's the universal backdoor. So I'm going to go on and read the other paragraphs, but I just want everybody to pay attention to this. This is laying out what's happening. So, that nutcase Heather and that nut job Randy, may be totally out to lunch and whatever, but this was the plan, to use the money and siphon it off and have you reject it and say, well, that doesn't work, without you knowing that you actually have loosed the funds and they have them. I'm not telling you this so you get pissed off with the pitchforks. I'm just telling you so that you understand this is not happening in a vacuum. And this is so much bigger than whatever little pieces here and there that you may or may not be paying attention to. Okay, From that day forward, universal actions were planned and done to, 1, redirect the majority of the foreign actors' attention from making their threat against POTUS imminent. 2, to create an attractive bait that would provoke those foreign actors from using and harming unsuspected average citizens. So, in other words, in plain English, you get one opportunity where you lose a very large chunk of money all at once. And when you do that and people say, look at that really cool motorhome, which I will put pictures of, hopefully if the person I think they're here. The person I asked is going to send them to me. Okay, a picture of the nice motorhome. Well, man, I want to do that. Forget paying off just my bills. I want to go buy this, that, or the other thing. Okay, that wouldn't go over well with the op.
I come here.
That
I
wouldn't
know.
go over well. Oh.
That wouldn't go over well with the op, is what I said.
Yeah. Okay.
So to create an attractive bait that would provoke those foreign actors from using and harming unsuspecting average citizens. 3, to create one single recorded and unexpected event that would cause and render the foreign actors into a desperate state. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 30 million would do that, don't you?
Well, yeah, but you see, it's a coordinated cooperation. So not only is it 31 million, but it's also an annoying, pesky website.
Right.
That tracks everything, publishes everything, spreads it out, and has all of these people playing on that pesky website, to the tune of 2,500 comments here and 1,800 comments there, where they're spreading it out and they're waking up and they're turning on their iTech because that's what they're doing, not because of the website. And
right.
It's spreading and spreading and spreading, and they're realizing that the best way to actually be free, not debt-free, but free, and to be who they truly are is to be empowered and to start taking action if they're moved to do it. Can't have that.
No.
Can't have that.
No, that's right.
So, which would, in a desperate state where they would abandon their typically compartmentalized protocols and procedures used to remain hidden and unknown for a clear, concise, transparent, and complete global footprint. So every action, every being and doing that was done by people and not directed to do, but they just felt like doing it. Every one of those caused a chain reaction electronically, in an energetic frequency vibrational way, to all of these actors. And their counter moves, or what they were trying to do to stop it, thwart it, whether it was, blocking things off or taking down the IUV site repeatedly or doing all sorts of different things. And then them freaking out so that they would shift and move different accounts. They would change different things. They would change routing numbers. They would do all sorts of things. Right? So people weren't paying attention. They were just getting annoyed because they won't give me my money, which I didn't know about 5 minutes ago, instead of waking up to the thing that this is how you bring it all down. But all of those were footprints, and they were all tracked. And they were all tracked because when people get into throwing them around and we got to lock them all up and chain them all up, they forget that within that glom they've made of the them, there's a whole lot of yous, so individuals who are waking up and want to do the thing to free humanity and the whole multiverse of source in that. Yeah. And you know what? It's unity. We're all working together because when you're us and them, and you're going to stay on this planet in 3D in this hole.
How convenient.
For a long time. Okay. Including but not limited to exposing their identities, their funding and transactions, operations, and most importantly, their foreign agents within all entities, branches, departments, agencies, states, and districts of the United States, and the members and systems of the Federal Reserve System and Bank for International Settlements. Before I get to number 4, okay, and also, it's also revealing the banking institutions, which are major players that are actually simultaneously these foreign actors and agents. Can you say USA Bank?
Right. Can you really?
And so when lots of people were doing it, and I came along close on the heels of Randy and transferred 1.5 or 1.6 million, or maybe 1.7, I don't remember what it was, into the accounts, gained interest, not very much, but I did they paid me interest on money that did not exist from accounts that did not exist, that they did not actually transfer.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
How'd that happen? Yeah.
And I actually have the physical, and they were very nice and sent me in a mailed hard copy from them with the letter, the notice about the money that I went in and the interest that I gave, but because they had decided to no longer do business with me, they were taking the funds out, but I could keep the interest. And here was a record of it.
Oh, wow.
So they let you keep the interest from it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But they charged me a fee, so I used that to pay for the fee. But what I'm saying is, not so they were looking for average citizens, but the main players are not very smart bears.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So 4, simultaneous completion of a universal unification. And I'm going to stop here for a minute. Number 4, simultaneous completion of the universal unification. Do y'all know what the universal unification is?
I know.
The universe comes together.
Or like all of us, like what we're doing now.
You bet. You, me, Keegan, the whole IUV family, lunacy, everybody, and so on and so on and so forth. That's universal unification. To support and further empower POTUS, U.S. military law enforcement. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a minute.
Okay.
The law enforcement and the U.S. military and POTUS needed to see that this was not a pitchfork, fry their asses, hang them up, roast their balls kind of a thing. This was people who could actually work together, get together, figure things out, even though they really didn't know what was going on, but they could feel it because it was an energetic frequency that was coming from not the IUV, not Heather, not all of anybody else, from within them. It's an inside job.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely.
Okay. And the people in America to permanently terminate the foreign threat to POTUS, the long-standing threat to the people in America, humanity, and this planet. Okay? What you don't realize is that it's not only just this planet.
No, exactly. It's not.
It's many, many, many. Well, it's basically a simple way to say it is all of sources universes. And the possibility of future threats being created thereafter, because these people, you can roast these guys down here, and these gals down here, they're just middle management.
Yep.
Okay? They're not even upper middle management.
Well,
upper middle management does not reside on terra firma here.
No, that's right. There, I look at it more as finger puppets. They don't even rate the whole marionette thing. They're finger puppets. Sorry, that's the way I look at it. Finger puppets. You got finger puppets, then you got your hand puppets, then you got your marionette puppets. Come on, people.
Okay, so I think that's all I need to really read there. I mean, she goes on about the rest of the scheme and the bait and so on and so forth, but you guys have out there, you have eyes and you have the material, and you could hit the print button or set up on the website so you can just scroll easily. You don't even have to use paper if you don't have paper. So anyway, so I wanted to read that because that really ties into what everybody just heard from Katie, with you all heard live in the courthouse today about what's going on. So there are a lot of discrepancies. If this case is with a significant amount of money, it's $31 million. It's it's a pretty fair piece of change,
A little bit,
And
No chump change.
well, but from an entity like the Federal Reserve, they certainly want to thwart anybody thinking, well, if he did it, I can do it, right, and have a thing. And that's why he fudged. But on the one hand, right, so this would be a big case. We're going to set a precedent-setting case to really, flay this guy and hang him up from the yardarm and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they don't want to have it in open court, him have clearly understanding or bringing forth just how much this went on, because we have all those figures.
Well, I was interested in that. I didn't put it in the notes to you because the notes I was sending to you were more things that I found that were discrepancies that I wanted to make sure Heather knew for her, just for her edification. This was in my notes to share in the recap. And that is that Mr. O'Malley, our Federal Reserve Senior VP of Fraud Investigation, Financial Intelligence, by the way. What
Liaison.
The hell?
Liaison.
Oh, yes. Well, he's a liaison to law enforcement as well. But I didn't know there was such a thing as financial intelligence. So apparently there is. But at any rate, what he did say, what he would admit to, was that it was at least tens of thousands of people who accessed their accounts, and possibly as high as hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
But that's as far as he would go. Now, I'd like for everyone to just think a minute. Okay.
Yeah, well, just let that sink in. So randomly, all of these people had the same scheme instantly to cook up to do it, and they all used the same bogus number and stuff that Randy used?
Well, this is something
it just
that
happened to work.
Well, that's my thing, is that at the end of the day, I think almost every person who hears this video will know. Go to any kind of institution you want where you can enter in your own stuff to set up your own pay, like paying your cable bill, paying your phone bill. Enter your bank account one number wrong and it won't go through at all.
It won't even let you add it. You won't even be able to add it.
Because it can't verify it. That's the thing. It can't verify it. There are systems set up in place for that. Everybody knows that. So to think that Randy, and I'm sorry, folks, I was in the courtroom. I saw the paperwork USAA presented to the DOJ and showed where he purchased CDs for $999,999, and it went into his account. I'm sorry.
I can show you the same paperwork. I purchased 3 CDs. I think the first one was $500,000, the second was $750,000, and because I wanted a random number, $449,000. And they went right through. They set up my accounts. They set up, I put up another, I forget what they call them in USAA, but it's basically like a deposit account, right? Investment account. And they pulled in $7,000 from the TDA from that.
Yeah, and so
screenshots and everything. So where they, they took it back because the shit was hitting the fan behind the scenes, and oh my God, and that's why they shut it down. So if people are watching this and say, well, I tried this and it didn't work, well, when in the chronological order of, what was her phrase? them freaking out because they were losing control of the op, right?
Well, yeah.
When in that did you try it? And that will tell you why all the shifting and changing was going on.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of also my point in this too, is that so just to use a little common sense, the fact that this op really was going forward, you take the fact that, okay, let's take your case because you're right here and you have the paperwork and you can attest to this. The paperwork I saw in court in regards to Randy's situation, not only did he purchase the CDs, but then he did cash in some of those CDs and the money went into his banking account. And this is how he purchased the RV. So now hold up a second. You're going to tell me, Mr. and Mrs. Average Joe out there, that you try to enter one wrong number on your bank account and you can't pay your effing phone bill, but this guy happens to put in, invent a fraudulent account that just happens to be his Social Security number, and it just happens to be at the Federal Reserve, and he just happens to purchase $30 million worth of CDs, and then they just happen to give him some of that cash into his bank account, enough to just happen to go out and buy a $500,000 RV. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and
these things happen,
I got some swampland in South Florida I want to sell you. Please contact me. Okay, because I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. It really is.
Wait.
Hello? Is it
I'm Katie.
I am Katie. Appreciate my voice. Here we go. So you can take a credit card or debit card and stick it into a machine. And it can tell you immediately whether or not you have funds in that account and recognize that it's an account, yet you're going to go in, add the account number, the routing number, make a payment, have it clear to your account and post I'm talking over a week, that I've had stuff posted to my account over a week, and all of a sudden give a return saying that, there's limited participation in this and it's restricted. No.
Right.
No, that's not how any of this works. That's not, we don't live in a day and age where that's possible. They've got systems to prevent that. Like it doesn't make logical sense.
Well, the other thing that people some do take into consideration, the reasons why some said, well, it takes a delay of 2 days and this. Well, the reason that has nothing to do with the money getting from one place to the other. It has to do with the fact that they can then use your money for those 2 days because they haven't got any money of their own and they've got to play footsie with yours.
Well, the money isn't traveling by airplane. What's taking
Well, yes, because not to mention, like you have said many times, DZ, Scrooge McDuck is not in the back swimming through the coins and bringing you some out. No, it's all being traveled digitally, and it's instant. I mean, I'm sorry, but we joined you on Zoom, and I had just hit send on an email, and you're over there printing it out already. So you're going to tell me that no, see, this is ridiculous, and everybody needs to get a grip. So
let's work together to get this done, because it's blatantly obvious, and we just need to come together and.
Well, I think that's exactly the point of this whole trial. That's why I said I now get it. I get what's happening, and I get why it has happened in the manner and in the way in which it has. Because now I will tell you too that one of the things that our friend over at Backroom Knox actually said was, "Why aren't there more people here? why aren't there more people here in looking into this? And, you know, that was a good question that he asked. And quite frankly, I think it's because, I mean, well, first of all, I see it as much, much more than just the money and everything else, as we all feel. But even
stop it, because you're absolutely right. But I will point out on a lot of the videos that we've been putting up, and people keep saying, well, that's nice, but when do I get to get my money to pay off my bills?
No,
that's not waking up enough to see the bigger picture, because I don't know about other people, but I don't want to be paying my bills to the master from here on out. I actually am a creator being, and I'm done with that. I've played that play, and we're over with that.
Well, and see, that's what I think now. And so there's nothing I can do or any one of us can do to try to get folks to wake up to that anymore. I mean, you know, it is an inside job, and folks do have to come to the realization that, yes, this has been an entire slavery system. And part of it has been to do exactly that. Suppress, oppress your own inner technology, your own creator beingness.
But we can change it. That's the
right.
thing. We can change it.
Yes.
All of us can change this if we tune into the consciousness together. You don't have to be here in Knoxville to make a difference. All you have to do is put intent, and it's gonna. I mean,
yes,
we're gonna connect together, and we're gonna change it together. And that's what this is about. It's about us coming together, realizing it, and not taking it. Like we're not going to take it anymore.
Yes, you're right on one level, but I got to tell you, you are right on one level, but I got to tell you, I'm not sitting around waiting for every, you know, folks to try. I can't wait for any more. I'm not going to wait anymore, because it's an inside job, and everybody has to make the choice for themselves. You've said it a lot of times, BZ. It's a choice. And it is a choice. And if these folks want to sit around and wait for their money to continue paying their master and not take on their own responsibility for themselves and their own creator beingness, then so be it. I wish you well, because I can't do it anymore. I'm not interested in that. I want to pay attention to my inner technology. I want to get rid of this situation for myself. And it is a choice. It is all a choice. And I didn't mean to cut you off,
no, you're fine.
But for a long, long time, I really was wanting so desperately for everybody to wake up and see what's going on this planet. And some people are just not going to do that. And no matter what we say here in this recording or anywhere else is going to change that. They have to figure it out for themselves.
Well, yeah, we're all on our own journey, but those who are watching this for a reason.
Well, that's true, and there's going to be some maybe at some other point down the road.
Right.
But, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't come together, because I think those that are ready and wanting to will. I mean, come on, look at what's happened here. We only met you in October, and I feel like we've known each other forever. I met her a year ago, and we've been together ever since.
You're absolutely right, Katie.
Yeah. I was like, because we have. But I say that all the time, and she goes, I know, because we have. Same with everyone else here. We've met the most random people, and I swear I have known them my, lifetimes.
Yes, David McTavish and David Pierce. I mean,
and even Christian today.
Yes.
I mean, you talk with it's amazing the connection that you make, and it's because we're all tuning into that, and we're all becoming aware of the connection that we have, and it's just easier and easier to make those connections. I mean, I don't know if other people have noticed this. I have found it to where even when I'm in the most random places, people will just come and start talking to me, and that never used to be the case 6 months ago. That was not the case, and now it happens all the time.
Oh, yes, I know. I went downstairs today to get my water. I did bring my water in because I got to drink water. And I had to leave it downstairs with the nice guys at the guard.
At the courthouse.
At the little area where I have to completely almost disrobe to get in that joint. Because I got to take off all my jewelry, and my belt, and everything has to come off. So I went down to get some water at the break. And they were asking me questions, of course, about my water. But all of those fellas down there seemed to me to be very open. You know, it's all changing. It's just all changing, or at least that's what I felt.
Oh yeah.
One thing I want to interject here for a minute, because I think it's a good place to do it. So when you're, and this is kind of to everybody in the larger room, right? When you're hearing something, whether it's on this recording or you're looking at the case or you're out in your own world, wherever that is, and you look at something and it prompts you, I'm going to take the people who are not trolls, who are not paid, they're actually on the operation management team's payroll to come in and cite stuff. So those are doing what they're doing, and okay, if that's what works for you, great. But when you come to a website or you come to write a comment, and it's, snickering and Randy's going to rot in hell and be in the jail forever. If that's your perspective and that is what's in your heart to say, great, that's your choice. Absolutely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I honor your perspective. What I will ask you to feel into is, what is it that comes up in you? What are you seeing? What are you connecting with in the video you've watched, in the document that you've just read, that incites that reaction in you? And when you play with that, understand that feeling that you have is actually a coded protection mechanism on the mass mind control program that is embedded within you. So if you think of yourself as a computer or a software program, because a lot of people can understand that, and you've got you've got kind of a Trojan virus or a Trojan programming that's in you. The coding is in there. And when you come across, and it doesn't have to just be us or the IUV or HATJ and RKB or any of those kinds of things, but this is what we're talking about, so I'm going to use that as an example. When you come across these things, there is keys and codes and language that come from source creator to you. It's an inside job, so it's waking you up. It's knocking on, your thoughts and your feelings, and you may not understand it and you may not language it the way I am, but that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. And when you come back with this response and feel compelled to write a comment like those, or even softer comments, right? But it's negative or doubting or any of those kinds of stuff. What you can write then and there in a snapshot, take a snapshot picture of it and pay attention, notice, that's an additional programming. It's a safety mechanism. It's a default safety interrupt program that's overlaid on the program. And it can read your electromagnetic frequency reaction to something. And when you start to go, that's kind of interesting, or you feel, or it makes you right, okay, it's going, alert, 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 this one is about to wake up. You watch the movie The Matrix and Nemo and the whole thing, hello, okay, so this one is on top, and it is sending out code and triggers within your networking to send that kind of stuff out, to break whatever connection that was just about to happen. That, let me think about that for a minute, okay? So that's really what's happening. Don't take my word for it. You're walking in the world. You're doing stuff all the time, right? Notice what's going on. Mm-hmm. Notice why you have that reaction, why you're compelled to think those thoughts or feel those things, and then maybe take it a little further and write a comment. So notice that, because there's a clue there for you.
Well, now I want to, if you don't, and I know you, I know it's time to go to bed. I do. I can feel my brain fading over there.
I'm so done.
But I do have to, because I can feel, this time I can really feel something. As far as a question, or I want to kind of play a devil's advocate for a minute, because I think if I do, this may be very helpful. Okay, so let's just say that kind of a program is triggered or activated in someone. They may not understand it's that way, or they may in some way fight against that program and say, well, but it's this over here, or it's this over here. I now really can see very clearly what you have helped me with, where the mind gets engaged. Because if, in regards to noticing something, why you're having a reaction to something, like, okay, I'll take some for instances of something that I've seen on my own channel. Well, this is against the law, and therefore this can't even be real. That's because of not feeling into, I think, isn't it? Because you're not feeling into what it really is. All of a sudden, I have this devil's advocate thing in my head to do, and then it's just like gone. Oh, I know, isn't he adorable? He's so adorable. Hi, Keegan.
He looks down because that's where your voice comes from.
Hi. When you're down here, though.
Okay, well, I think we should wrap it up there.
Yes, we should. Because I kind of lost what I was going to say. All right. Well,
thank you.
So
I will get this published. Get some sleep. Thank you,
okay,
Katie, for your really messy but incredibly readable notes.
Would you do me a big favor, BC? Because I would also like to go ahead and go to sleep. Would you mind sharing this in Conscious Conversation Central for me?
I've been plastering in there all day long, and I'd be happy to do it.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to say to everyone that has been following along with all the antics that are going on over here, thank you so much for paying attention, for noticing things, for sending it, yes, and for sending all your love and support. Let me just say that I have gotten some of the most beautiful emails from you guys, and I haven't had a chance to read them all, and I've been getting some private messages and lots of new Facebook friends and folks asking to join Conscious Conversation Central, and I'm really very touched, and it means a lot to me that you guys see what this is and you're sharing it on your own Facebook pages, and I just thank you for that. That's all I want to say. So, and thank you, BC, for this platform.
Yeah. So you I want you guys to go talk to your pillows.
Yes, as soon as we hang up here, I'm going.
And then I'll post your morning I don't know, morning hello before you go into the courthouse.
Okay, awesome.
And we'll roll from there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Sorry, I am so